The call is coming from inside the studio. Hey, we still do not have an intro for these things. So right now, first of all, let's start off with our claim today as we wait for Arden to connect because she's coming from the other show, is that the obsession that MAGA has with trans people and trans issues is whack. It is bizarre, it's creepy, and it's unscientific. And clearly a sort of issue that is an issue that doesn't affect most of them, but they can get a lot of people to be upset about. Anyway, listen, people, here we are. I'm glad to have you all here. Arden will be here momentarily. If you are interested, we have not created yet an intro for this show. And if you do video types of things and you would like to create the intro, we'd like to hire you. Well, we're only going to hire one of you, but I'm going to write in the chat, in the live thing, wanna make the intro, and go to QAnaline.com/CIN intro to see all the requirements for submitting a proposal. And we would like to hire a fan to make that intro because that would just be really cool. So all the outline there, if you want to submit a proposal, we'd like to hire one of y'all. Make sure that it is a text-based proposal. Don't do all the work in advance and send that off. We want to accept somebody's proposal and not have people laboring for no reason out there, to be consistent with our values. Now let's go ahead and welcome in. It's Arden Hart. Arden!
Hello everybody.
How you doing?
Doing good. We just had a good episode of the Transatlantic Call-In Show over on the line. Good little collection of callers today. I even think it was one of the earlier callers, if you guys are watching, Summer, who I think we might have been able to budge them a little bit on their idea. They were basically coming in with the notion that you have to be skeptical about any internal experience that somebody self-reports, which, if you think about it for longer than 2 seconds, gets really nonsensical, where you have to start being like, how do I really know you're hungry? How do I really know you're in pain when I'm stabbing you? Like, it just, the logical contradictions add up so fast.
The concept of like always being skeptical doesn't mean always being cynical, and doesn't mean everybody should be treated in effect as a liar until otherwise proven not to be a liar. So, by the way, the number, if you want to call in and you want to challenge us, we'd like to hear your reasons. If you think that MAGA is based, if you think that trans people should be the main issue people are voting on, if you think that it is not a creepy and unscientific position that the MAGAs are shoving down our throats, let's be clear, and not first asking if that's okay.
Very much so.
Yeah. I would have preferred to have consented. If you disagree with that, we'd love to hear from you. Our phone number is 336-543-2101. That is 1-336-543-2101. Your camera quality. Did you change cameras? It looks so nice right now.
No. This is my Elgato, but
it just looks sharp.
I did more makeup today. My lighting's a little better, so maybe that's what it is.
The quality of I don't think the makeup's affecting the picture quality, but
you're
the
like,
lighting.
Wow, you normally look busted as fuck.
There's like no noise.
Too bad shit.
There's no ISO noise. Not none, but like where you don't notice it at all. Everything looks sharp and nice. It all looks. I look like a peeled potato. I look like you can see my veins at all times. 336.
I'm just gonna start affirming that whenever you do that. Normally I'm like, no, stop it. Now I'm gonna be like, yeah, you do. You look like a fucking potato.
You know what's funny is Alyssa kind of did that by accident one day, because I always make that joke about having no ass. I look like a frog stood up, and one day she made the joke before me, and I was like, that's my joke to make. Let's not be jumping ahead and affirming that. First of all, you haven't seen it, so you don't even know I'm like telling the truth, even though probably I look like that person. Anyway. I ain't got no ass. But yeah, camera looks very nice. Alyssa came looking like, what did Kevin say? Looking like a civil rights attorney or something. She had been at City Hall today, so we recorded the podcast earlier. That'll come out tomorrow, literally right before the show. That'll come out tomorrow, and yeah, she looks very, very professional but good. She was looking real good. Everybody just looks good today, and that actually.
Boss lady.
I wrote on my notes an idea I had. What if we did a show called Fancy Debates, where we all have to show up wearing like full formal gear? We're just like, all right, call us for our fancy debate. You can call in and talk to Jimmy in a suit, Arden in a dress, whatever. Like we can do that.
Wow. Pushing stereotypical gender norms on me. Cringe.
Yep. There's a dress code now. We finally have a dress code because clearly we have not. Just want to point that out.
It's so weird coming off of being on production on a show and then being just a host on the show that I'm not also producing is very weird. My brain is like looking for 18 other things for me to do. And I'm like, oh, I just kind of sit here. That's so weird.
Just hanging out. Yep. I got Luthien in the other room handling call screening and the VMix social stuff. And I'm here doing the main production stuff. She's also editing the podcast whilst doing it. But we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to talk to those people who would like to defend our proposition or offend our proposition, fight our proposition. MAGA obsession with trans is creepy and unscientific. And look, I even gave you a little, like, to try and make peace, I did that silly thing where I used trans as a noun by itself. You know, the way you never hear a person on the other side, but I had to make the title fit, right? So we ran out of room, so I got rid of gender. It'd be more
also,
like
listen,
transgender issues would be, or transgender people. We just shortened it to trans, like you never hear an ally actually do.
This is what the people who we want to call in response to that's how they're going to interpret it anyway. So I'm like, it really, nobody's going to be like, so I do think that it's justified and scientific, but I just wanted to correct you on the grammar. It's actually trans person. I don't think they're going to do that,
It could be. What's the other one that actually happens more? This one, even when I wrote the title, I was like, we're going to get letters. But that's the idea. Listen, it is very much the case over here. First of all, if you came over from the other show and you want to make sure you don't miss these, once the calls start coming in, because it starts getting fed to the shorts feed, things get much more unhinged over here. On our very first episode, our first caller was a non-Christian white nationalist socialist that if you're not comfortable calling me a socialist, call me a corporatist. You know, the opposite thing.
What?
Yeah, and then low-key, I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering right, accidentally referred to himself as a fascist or supporting fascism at one point during the thing, but tried to do the whole, keep the cultures separate, but the cultures, they're all so they're always beautiful. I'm like, are they though? Like, I don't know. Irish culture is fun, but is it beautiful? My family fucked each other a lot. I got to tell you, this is the result of a lot of incest. So I don't know. I don't even know that for a fact, but it's pretty. I mean, look at me. Look at the way my eyes bulge and my teeth are all in a different business. Different.
No,
they all
go
to different.
You don't
countries.
have to defend it. I see it. Trust me.
You can see that my parents are related.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not just by marriage. Yeah, for sure. For sure. We've, I definitely with my partner, I was like, can I see your 23andMe just to make sure there's not too much crossover? And there's not. Totally different parts of Europe than me.
I feel like in your situation,
it's good to check.
Yeah, there's more reason for concern.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like the cliche usually is a white person starts dating a person of color and they're like, oh, can I know what your background is? Can I see your 23andMe out of like, oh, this is so neat and interesting. And me, I only check the whites. I'm like, I just want to know we're not cousins, okay? I don't want to, should children be a thing we did one day? Probably won't, but long life, who knows what happens. I want to make sure they've got a shot in an immune system. Okay. I
don't want to be remaking Joffrey over here. He's going to take over the world and be a total psychopath.
Yeah. Anyway, hit subscribe if y'all don't want to miss this stuff. Anybody calling yet? MAGA, you on the line? MAGA, are you available? I actually just realized I don't have the right window up. Okay. So we've got.
Do I have access to this call in studio?
Yeah. Oh, do you? Oh, no, you don't. Do you sign in? Will you shoot me on Discord what email account your thing is? Is it the business one or do you sign in with something else?
No, I think it's my personal one.
Oh,
Ooh,
both.
Luthien saying I'm quite a bit louder than you, Jimmy.
Still? Okay, well, the audio issue from the other day is not the case. And did Luthien say that earlier and we just saw it? Because I already adjusted it when somebody else said
502.
that.
Oh, it was 502. So yeah, it was probably a
502.
while ago. You might
I
have
think we're
adjusted
good
it.
now. Yeah.
I should have my Discord open on the side so I can see her
Like
messages.
I always am so good at. It looks like we do have a call waiting to be screened, so we'll give Luthien a second to get all of that taken care of while we before we move on to the next one. Oh, I remember this caller. I remember. They're calling back. But again, if you are MAGA and you would like to call in and defend MAGA itself, we're fine with also. It doesn't have to be specifically on trans issues, but we are especially interested in talking to people who think that they know best about trans people and their needs, and they are correct in thinking that the Republican Party should be activating around something that affects them not at all and so few people otherwise. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to talk to you. And that number is 336-543-2101 with a link in the description if you are calling internationally. But, if you're calling internationally,
Somebody said, do MAGA watch the line? Well, that's the beauty of the vertical algorithm is it's throwing that shit on everybody's For You page. So live streams, that is. So hopefully we'll have it is both a blessing and a curse because we get a wider pool of people to pull from, but that also means that we get low quality callers in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Great for clips. Low quality for actually productive intellectual conversation.
That's true. That's all fair and true. That's for sure. And we would love for Charlie Kirk to call in. Charlie, call in. We'll have the convo with you. We'll have the convo. And I'll warn you, we are prepared for when you think your haymaker comes out. The what is a woman question doesn't make us throw up like you think it does. Oh God, yes, what is a woman? What am I gonna do?
I'm gonna throw up, but mostly because he's in our presence, not because.
Yeah, I'll be thinking about his gum line when I throw up, not from the questions. I'll be thinking about how do you not have a hair lip, but in peripheral vision you clearly do. If I'm looking at you in the eye, you have a hair lip, but if I look at your mouth, there's no hair lip to be seen. Anyway,
I will say that is
rude?
one area where they missed an opportunity in South Park. I think the constantly picking up the water bottle and putting it down on that episode, excellent. Totally accurate that he is that level of clownery. But the not like that. But I'm like, oh man, they did so good with Christy Nome. Like these people, when it's all narcissism and ego, I feel like you really have to attack them in the most like rudimentary childhood playground ways for it to really like stick in their craw.
I want to talk about that.
Why are we not doing gum? Like showing his gums, his tiny
trophy.
little face.
Did you see the trophy? The Charlie Kirk trophy had his gums like all the way up.
Oh no, I missed that part.
At the award
I did
show
watch
at the
the whole
end.
episode, but
you know what's interesting, and I've been talking about this, and I know when it's coming from me, people are like, "Oh, cis het white guy." No, I'm het passing, and I'm in a heterosexual relationship. But cis het passing white guy is saying he wonders if we should be more edgy, stop the presses, right? I get that I'm not the package of the paper, but is no one going to talk about that the most effective like roasting and shittiness, like the actual first time it has felt like MAGA got hit and taken down by a significant peg was not by playing by our rules where we're like overly cautious with language, but it's a lot of people who I have known to be the type to be like, no, you're not even allowed to say stupid because that's ableist, are celebrating that episode where are we just pretending they weren't using F slurs and R slurs in the episode? And are we going to have a talk about the fact that clearly that's been more effective, not being so uptight about rules and whether or not it might hurt somebody's feelings to have heard that word? Like, are we going to talk about that at all? Or are we just going to let that go? Anybody?
Yep.
You're like, I'm not getting canceled with you, Jimmy. Get out of here.
No. I actually had a discussion with a friend who was like, oh, like I thought it was a really impactful episode, but I didn't like that they used those slurs. And I was like, actually, I really like that it's the problem with comedy and using slurs like that is it's really context dependent because the butt of the joke And that is people who use those slurs seriously. Like,
Sure.
not saying that queer people, marginalized people haven't been the butt of the joke on South Park. They absolutely have. South Park
Very transphobic.
has spent the last few years like almost exclusively going after wokeness, right?
Right. Anti-woke.
But like, I think there is a time and place where if we're going to make these people the butt of the joke, like, we should represent them fairly. And talking like that, you know, then what?
I think there's somewhere in the middle of
slur is in the White House, like that. I thought it was good. It was clever the way they did it.
I think that when Always Sunny in Philadelphia does that kind of stuff, that the butt of the joke always is. But I do suspect Trey and Matt do use the R word all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. I think they were kind of like, that is why they were in that moment, they were using that joke ironically. But I think it was Mark Merritt had a pretty good conversation about this with somebody where he's like, now, like, you won the whole, like, oh, stop trying, even though no one was forcing you to say anyway, your consequences were purely social. We're purely like, okay, well, we as a group think you're a piece of shit. But anyway, you won, you got your president in, comedy's legal again. So now the people who are still doing it, where it's like, now you're just doing it for what reason? It's starting to actually make it look like even crowds aren't responding that way anymore. Because now you're not in an environment where it feels like looking around, oh, they said the R word. I feel like even my own reactions, like yesterday on the show when somebody like tried to just spam the N word, and I was like, all right, cool. You know, bad words. You did it, guys.
Yeah.
You learned them. You learned bad words. Oh my God. I'm so impressed by your bad word usage. Anyway. Let's go ahead and get this. Let's get this train on the tracks, and we'll start taking some calls. Let's talk to.
I'm ready.
T in Florida. T, I think this is your second time. You're a long-time listener, second-time caller.
We spoke Tuesday, I believe.
I think that you were the individual who is a black MAGA supporter. Who it is your position that MAGA is no longer about Trump; it's about MAGA. And that you think most of MAGA wants to leave Trump behind and move on to the next MAGA thing. Is that correct?
Yes, because they have an issue with him with the Jeffrey Epstein. For example, one of the main issues they have right now is the Jeffrey Epstein case.
Sure.
And the reason why is because whether he's in the Jeffrey Epstein files or not, the fact that he's protecting what MAGA believes he's protecting pedophiles that's running our country and corporations just makes us,
Right. And so we disagreed about whether or not that is the broader thing. We talked about some stats, but that's not what you're here to talk about today. I was just kind of reestablishing, making sure I had the right guy in mind and everything. You're now wanting to call on today's issue, and you're about your personal feelings about trans people at large, but then politically, it sounds like, I mean, in your notes, it seems like you maybe use the phrase trans agenda. So we'll talk all about that. Go ahead and let us know.
Okay. Basically, as far as on a personal level, and quite a few people that I know of, don't really have any specific issue with transgender people. It's like, be you, I mean, if you want to do what you want to do, you can be you in regard to that,
Sure. I mean, I'm going to once again disagree that is the broad opinion of MAGA. Yeah. I think it's quite the opposite. I think that not only do trans people, but queer people in general make a lot of men, especially conservative men, somehow feel like their sexual orientation and gender identity is threatened if people are allowed to express themselves outside of somehow that you become slightly more gay because gay people exist. There's this weird paranoia about that kind of thing. By the way, T, you're not driving, are you?
No. I'm sorry. That's the motorcycle in the background.
All right. No worries.
I'm not driving.
Just basically, you can proceed with your argument. I will say if that is the base foundation of your argument, then we're going to foundationally disagree. But I don't think that's even probably the important argument
now,
to engage.
The issue that MAGA has, I'm just going to say me personally. Then, if you basically don't agree, as far as a good portion of people just want transgender to be transgender. At the end of the day, here's where the problem came, and here's where the pushback actually came. The pushback actually came when our government, right, the Democrats and Republicans, what have you, the people running everything, blah, blah, blah. And once again, they're all used as tools. One's a hammer, the other one's a nail. One has an agenda, the other one has the counter to the agenda, and vice versa, and they just work back and forth.
Well, that's not how hammers and nails work. A nail isn't a counter to a hammer. A nail is driven in by a hammer.
Yeah, but they're two different,
Sure, how about a hammer and a crowbar? You would reverse what you do with a hammer.
Giving you a hard time because it was a funny analogy. We know what you mean.
So what actually happened as time went by, MAGA kind of felt like the whole transgender thing was being shoved down their throats. And what do I mean by that? They started, you would watch a regular movie, what have you not, and then they would have like a transgender agenda or a gay agenda, what have you not. And to be honest with you...
Wait. T, before you go on, we need to specify. Sure. Did they have a transgender agenda, or was a trans person just there? Did they have a gay agenda, or was a gay person just there?
Right. It would be like, say, for instance, growing up, you'd watch a cop show, a detective, what have you not, blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, in the show now, these days, they would have a cop, and he's a macho guy, whatever, but then, he goes home to his lover husband,
So? So what?
Things like that.
Wait. T, so what? Is that the gay agenda, or is that the show reflecting what real life is like now? And that the fact that there are macho cops who go home to their husband, right? Or are you saying gay people shouldn't be cops?
No. I agree. No, I understand.
So it's not an agenda unless you're saying that those cop shows before were straight agenda, which I might argue they're not straight agenda, but a lot of cop shows were cop propaganda. There's a really good episode of John Oliver on Law and Order, and how Law and Order basically made an abusive NYPD seem like it's a pretty good place to be.
Right. Yes. Right. But what I'm saying is, it's slowly but surely, a lot of the shows, what have you not, would have more of a mixture. And I understand your perspective on it, but I'm talking about the perspective of a MAGA person. So he spends all his life watching regular movies, and slowly but surely, more and more of these movies, TV shows, what have you not, are starting to bring in stuff that he's not used to seeing.
So you're not saying the problem is that it got shoved down their throats. You're saying the problem is they believed it was being shoved down their throats. Okay. Not that it was true, but they believed it was true.
Right. Okay. And so while the media, the movie, was what have you not, is bringing to light of people that live with us, around us, what have you not, they just find it unappealing. So, and because of that, they were like, okay, well, what's going on here? And then what really started getting people angry, I mean, really angry, and it was misguided or misdirected towards the transgender people, was when the schools start bringing in or introducing young children into the whole concept of being transgender, gay, and what have you not. And that brought out an incredible amount of hostility.
So now that's something that I can actually bite onto.
If that direction, it's just
can you hear
government.
T, can you not hear Arden?
Hello, can you hear me,
no.
T?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear her. No, hello?
Hello, can you hear me? No, T can't hear me, I don't think.
Hello?
Okay, give me a second. I got to fix it because for some reason you can't hear Arden, which shouldn't be the case, but apparently is. You hear me, but you don't hear my co-host at all?
Perfectly. I hear you perfectly.
Testing.
She was trying to, that person was trying to say something, and I'm just like blowing right through him. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And so we're trying to figure out why, because there's actually not a good. I don't actually see why, because everything is currently set. No. It's not on your side, T. If you'll just hold for a moment, let me see if I can figure out what's going on here, because you should hear Arden. So if you hear someone say, "T, do you hear me?" Just say yes or no.
T, do you hear me?
Gotcha.
T.
This is weird.
Do you hear me? You hear me, T?
T absolutely should hear you, and yet doesn't.
Yeah,
Hold
that
on,
is
let
weird.
me put up my volume up louder. I mean,
No,
I can
it
hear
won't
it
be
the same
that.
way.
This is
Definitely not a volume issue.
yeah, not a volume
Since
issue
earlier
at
I
all.
was over. Yeah. I thought earlier that he might not be able to hear me, but I wanted him to get to a
Maybe I should just play it on
more
the
meaty point
but
that
the
I could
YouTube
jump
has
in
a
on.
lag.
Nah, there's too much of a delay for that to work.
Yeah.
T, let me shoot. Why what I can't actually make sense of it. Yeah, T, if you'll give me just a moment, I'm gonna put you on hold just for a moment while I try and figure this out. Yeah. Yeah, I actually can't see any reason why this would be the case. It looks like everything's going. When you speak, the bussy does go out. Bus C is what's
Oh, I'm on
feeding
bus
into-
C as a co-host. I feel like normally I put my co-hosts on bus B.
No, you are receiving bus B. Bus C is the outgoing to Collins Studio. And right now, unless that got messed up, let me check that and see if it's only sending maybe it's sending my microphone instead. That actually is probably what happened. Oh, we love that there are tech issues, and it happens more often with me because I'm the one running production for a million things over here, so it changes day to day, and I'm often experimenting with things.
I will also say I didn't change my
I
Google profile to I just hopped in, but it was working, so I was like, oh, okay, good. I don't have to change anything. I'm good.
So this should be input B. Yeah, it even though I changed the Chrome defaults, I'm gonna T, you can probably hear me. I have to return you to the queue to fix this, but it should be fixed once we get back. All right, so I'm returning to the queue, and it even though I changed the defaults in Mixer, it still defaulted to just my soundboard mic instead. So we're gonna hang up there. We're going to refresh this bit. And
somebody said to use a voice changer to see if he responds. Now that I've got my
as the host.
Roadcaster, I do have voice changers on.
You are now in the host
it's not
room and
T's
can manage
fault.
your
T's not
callers
messing
from the
with us or
Collins
anything.
Studio
It's not
web
a trolling
interface.
situation. If that's what you're
Audio
No, I
recording
thinking.
is on.
Not you. I was the people on the internet. If that's what they were thinking. Okay, I think we'll be good now. Let's bring T back in. So, T, first of all, I assume you hear me, right?
I hear you
Testing.
Now,
can you hear me, T?
I hear now. Yeah.
Okay,
I hear you.
awesome.
Excellent. Okay,
All
so
right.
you were just saying the thing about bringing. Not only did we bring it into movies, but we brought it into the schools, and that was where Arden wanted to start chatting.
I was trying
with
to jump in on that. Yeah, so I think I hear this a lot. This notion that trans people brought stuff into schools, and I think it's not really an accurate representation of whatever happens. Like, there's been definitely a lot of advocacy, primarily on behalf of like left-leaning, Democratic side of politics, to get age-appropriate sex education into schools, which usually for young children means telling them that gay people exist, telling them that trans people exist, giving them the correct names of their anatomy so that, if somebody assaults them, they can actually properly report that to somebody and something will more effectively be done rather than, calling it your cookie or whatever. I don't actually see any evidence ever of it being pushed into schools. Like, all I ever see is some teachers, and not all, by the way, because a lot of states still have very, very regressive sex education laws. I only ever see people talking about the fact that trans and gay people exist once they get to be like, 12, 13, where there's actual proper sex education that's happening. Then like topics do come up. But that's because, again, we're talking about evidence-based, age-appropriate sex education.
Right.
Yeah. If I can ask you a question, T, are you aware that, let's not talk about gay or trans right now. Are you aware that like the reason why sex education got moved to early and earlier, and now it usually starts around 3rd or 4th grade with like a basic level of sexual education, was because it actually resulted in children being more aware. Like, basically you educated children on what their parts are. It's not like it's in depth. They're not showing them porn or anything. But again, not talking about gay or trans, just like, hey, here are these things. This is what sex is. These are sexual body parts. These are parts that will develop. And as you grow, and you might have to go to these types of doctors, and that it actually reduced abuse because kids were able to, at a younger age, identify when somebody was doing something they weren't supposed to because they had the education. So you understand that that's like true. And I assume that you're in support of that, right?
Right. Yes.
So similarly, before you jump on, similarly, if you are in 3rd grade, 4th grade, young, whatever, and you're going to have different challenges because you are realizing as you're awakening into, and for me, it started even younger than that. I know I was in kindergarten the first time I realized I liked boobs and that they caused my penis to change form. That was, I was so young when I first noticed. So if you're going to, as you're awakening into that world, as your body is developing, if you're going to have other challenges because that education doesn't match you, but you don't even know in advance that that's what it is, but it turns out you are gay or you are trans, similarly to what you just agreed to, isn't it the case that those kids need that education so they can't be intercepted and abused by people who will take their ignorance of what's happening to them and sort of like shift them, change them? Aren't those kids more well equipped? And is it doing any damage for other kids to just learn what being gay is, learn what being trans is, to be aware of what people around them might be like, but then also, if you end up being one of those kids, are you not set up for a better future because you have an education in what those concepts are?
Yes, I agree.
So then why, what would be your defiance to the trans agenda? Because that's what you said before. What is the trans agenda that you're opposed to?
Okay, well, here we go. Now, everything you said is pretty much the ideal scenario. But what was actually happening in not all schools, but at the end of the day, there were certain schools that would take it to the next level. And what they would do, they would
Could you name one and what they were doing?
Yeah.
Oh, right off the top of my head, no, I can't name one.
So just so you know, the reason why you probably can't is because if that was true, the name of that school would have been the news every day. If you're saying they went beyond education level, because they would have become the biggest demon of the anti-trans movement. Instead, it's always like, oh, did you know there were kitty litters? They were setting up kitty litters for children to shit in, and then you go and you look, it turns out none of it's true. So the reason why you probably can't think of a name is because... Yeah, go ahead.
You know, I'm just saying I can actually look it up in regards to that and pull that up.
Sure, what is the thing you're going to say they were doing, and then I'll try and help you find an example of it.
Right. Now, but let me just, so basically certain schools would do certain things to extreme, to the point where. What was one of the extremes? They would have books in their libraries that when you open it up, they're very sexually orientated. Like he whipped out my, he worked, just really, really negative sexually for these kids. And what happened was,
wait. To be clear, you're not saying that a curriculum in a school was bad, but books which you think you wouldn't want your kids to read were present, so nobody's kids should be allowed to read them, even though, by the way, even before gay and trans issues were a thing, the libraries have always been filled with, I can remember my elementary school, it had books for kids and it had by what grade you would expect a kid. So I would read grade 12th grade books, and some of those books had heterosexual, but sexual scenes in them, but they weren't important. And they would be like books that you're aware of, like popular books or books that contain sexuality. Even the Harry Potter series has clear like sexual tension moments in it, but there would be graphic sex. And by the way, every school I ever went to, every school had Bibles available, which will describe gay sex, rape, more rape, a lot more rape, actually just kind of a whole lot of rape in that book. And so are you saying any sexual depiction from anywhere, or just the ones that you as a parent don't want to get involved with what books your children are checking out? You as a parent don't want to control and check, because most of the time you can go online and track their library account stuff. Is it just the stuff you don't like and you find icky?
Well, here's the thing, though. It's not public libraries. We're talking about the school library, where elementary, there shouldn't be books in there talking about when you open it up, if you want to bend over Billy and pull down his pants. You know what I mean?
What book is that? What book is the one where you want to bend over Billy? And what book are you talking about?
I'm just thinking of the one that John Kennedy read in Congress, that the Republicans love to all go to, because it's the one hard example that they absolutely have, where he's John Kennedy, the weird turtle looking guy who's like, I like omelets better than sex or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just saying as an example. So books is one example. Now another example.
Wait. But my point, actually, when you said it's not a public library, I agree that it's not a public library and that we don't allow adults to go in and check out from there. But that actually operationally, it is a public library for the students who are in attendance, because it is a public school. And what they check out should be up to the families and the parents, not. But again, you have admitted it has nothing to do with curriculum. You're upset about books that are present that could be. Oh, no, it's curriculum also. I just mentioned to you about the dildo in class that being demonstrated. But like you asked me, I don't have. What dildo in class?
No, but
I'm not even sure that that's a problem, though. Like, what age group is getting that? Because like queer people are always chronically getting far less sex education. Sex education is almost across the board, always. Penis goes in vagina and makes baby, and that is like the summation of it. So there have been small attempts to start doing queer inclusive, again, age appropriate sex education. These are the ages that people should be starting to understand these things, because it equips them with better knowledge of how to be safe, how to avoid STDs, how to avoid pregnancies if they don't want them. If it's age appropriate, I would completely support kids getting age appropriate sex education, including about dildos or something that's necessary for queer people.
What age, though? When you say age appropriate, what age?
Wait, actually, before we answer that, what age do you think attended the event that you're describing with the dildos?
Oh, say that again? What was the question?
You're using this example. What age do you think they were?
From what I understand, they were like second.
Incorrect.
Second and third grade.
Incorrect. So I've already found it. It was Francis W. Parker School. The students were seniors in high school. Adults were present throughout. It was an optional, opt-in, parental approved 30-minute one-time workshop for sexual ed. So you're literally talking about kids going off to college soon. And they included in there were dildos. But again, an opt-in session, not a public school. We talked curriculum, nothing that is opt-in, as opposed to if you had said students were going automatically unless their parents purposefully opted them out, then I would say you have a point, because then it's easy for a student to just not ever get that paper to their parents. This was an optional, opt-in only, attended by 6 students who were seniors about to go off to college. And the session was conducted specifically by healthcare professionals. Wasn't a porn star.
Damn.
Nobody was showing them how to use anything.
Not to mention, when I was a freshman in high school, I had to put a condom on a banana in my health class. Like, nobody asked my parents that, but they forced me to put a condom on a banana, every fucking student in that classroom. Like, if you're going to be like, oh, dildos are crazy for 18-year-olds, then like, you must be like exploding knowing that I put a condom on a banana at 15, because that happened.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go with you on this one right now, since I can't pull up what I actually.
I've just pulled it up and I have all the sources. The only other comparable thing was there was a report of 6th grade students being a teacher showing 6th graders a strap-on, and that was debunked, but it went away. It went around MAGA circles a lot, never happened, but they claimed it happened in 2014.
Okay, well, there you go. So that can add fuel to a fire, right? So when we're here, let's say that's a rumor, right?
Wait. That can add fuel to the fire. Yes, the Republicans making up bullshit, like when they were making up that Kamala Harris was going to put them in concentration camps. MAGA lies can add to a MAGA fire. Yes, for sure. We agree.
No problem. So now the situation where MAGA believes that it's being more introduced in the classrooms.
Because
And
of
then
false
that got
information
MAGA also.
spread by MAGA, right?
Okay, no problem.
So it's not the queers
Then-
problem.
No problem. Now then, exactly. No, that's what I'm saying. It has nothing to do with the transgender community.
Right.
It's basically the anger is mostly towards government. Because let me tell you why. Because I don't know if you heard about the school. What do you call them? School meetings, like when they meet up with the board of education of the school district. What have you not? A lot of parents was very angry. And then I don't know if you heard the stories where FBI would go to those schools and harass and try to arrest the parents who did not want the to get transgender. They didn't want their children getting transgender information in the schools. And the FBI was going after them. You could look that up. And what happened is that
why would the FBI be looking for parents who don't want their kids to read a transgender book? Do you know what the FBI does? This is not like within their purview.
Okay, wait. I'm going to look it up right now. Before we do, will you acknowledge that the examples that you had before were wrong and you were mistaken?
No,
Wait. You are the ones before, not this one. Will you admit that you already agreed that those ones were wrong and mistaken?
I can't say they're wrong and mistaken because I don't have, but I have to agree with you at this point because I don't have the evidence in front of me. So yes, at this point, I'm gonna have to agree with you. Yes.
So looking it up, the FBI was never instructed to collaborate with local law enforcement to address criminal threats, but the Attorney General was investigating not people being upset, criminal threats, as in people saying, if you don't get that book out of there, I'm going to kill you kind of shit. And that's, by the way, that's what the Attorney General should do and the FBI should do. The FBI was never sent to harass people because they were concerned. In fact, fact checkers, including PolitiFact and factcheck.org, debunked claims that the FBI or DOJ labeled dissenting parents as domestic terrorists or flagged them for merely speaking up. It explained that while there is an internal tracking system, using a threat tag is only applied to threat assessments involving violence or intimidation, not to parents attending meetings or opposing the curriculum content. So nobody who was just saying, hey, I'm not okay with this, was getting targeted by the FBI. It was people who were saying, I'm going to fucking kill these people if you dare let them have that book up on the thing. That's who got investigated by the FBI. And by the way, that investigation also included revelations that some of these parents at different board meetings who were getting up and hollering looked an awful lot like the parents at other board meetings, that somehow the same person had students at 10 or 11 schools in completely different districts. So once again, we are describing, if the information I'm looking up is true, and I'm not just making this up since you won't concede anything here on that basis, we are once again describing that Republicans make shit up. You guys don't question it, but you keep voting for it. Will you at least agree that when Donald Trump said, it's crazy what's happening in these schools, you take your son out and you say, Jimmy, I love you so much, and then you send them away and the kid doesn't come back for 3 or 4 days, and then they come back and they've had a transgender surgery? Will you at least agree that that is a completely made up bullshit thing, that parents nowhere in the country are sending their kids to school? The school keeps the kid for multiple days and sends them back with a gender change surgery.
Oh, I'll be completely fair with you. I would have to honestly say I don't know. I really hope something like that didn't happen.
Stop, T. Come on.
T, you are not
this is what makes this conversation so frustrating, T, is we keep bringing you stuff and you keep doing the, whoa, I'm not saying that. Whoa. I agree with you guys. Whoa. And it's like, so why are you MAGA? If everything you're saying is honest, it doesn't make any fucking sense that you're MAGA. Like you're talking about how stupid the right is and how many lies the right capitulates and the crazy things they come up with, but then you are MAGA. Make it make sense, because right now,
story was true. Is it possible that you would have not heard about it every day for a week at least? Every day for a month.
Let me ask you this question. Mm-hmm. Have everything that I mentioned to you, is that new to your ears, or you heard that before?
All of it we've heard before.
All of it before.
Yeah.
But so not as. No, T. We've heard the lies before, and we, like with you, have corrected them before.
Okay. But my point is, you asked me, well, why or how does MAGA feel about the whole transgender situation? So
no, actually, we asked why you were against the trans. You said you came in saying that you're neutral to trans people, but you are against their agenda. And then you started by framing it that the agenda is, hang on, that it's very apparent in place A in the media, place B in schools, place C now in the FBI school board stuff, getting out of the curriculum, but into this broader thing. You keep jumping from thing to thing while kind of acknowledging you were wrong about the thing prior, but not admitting that you were wrong about the whole thing. So again, what is the trans agenda and why are you opposed to it?
Gotcha. Okay, great. So now, once again, all these things, whether they're real or not real, throw shade against the transgender people, but it's actually coming from what people believe, whether it's true or not.
It's not
actually coming from the government, right?
No, it's coming from Republicans. It's coming from Matt Walsh. It's coming from Ben Shapiro. It's coming from Daily Wire. It's coming from popular right-wing media. It's coming from Alex Jones. T, we already talked about this, I'm pretty sure the other day. You're a big Alex Jones head, right?
Yeah.
It's coming from Alex Jones. Alex Jones, isn't that where the kitty litter thing came from? And that turned out to not be true.
Okay, so now when California went ahead and...
Are you about to tell me what the trans agenda is, or are you going to a totally different point?
But I just want to mention to you California as an example. It was heard that California could actually take your child away from you. And if the parents do not recognize the right of the child to change sex, California can take their child away from
them. That's not true either.
So I don't think that actually went through. But T, would you agree that, like, for example, with Jehovah's Witnesses, right? They, because of their religion, they don't believe that you should be allowed to have blood transfusions. So even if their kid is dying on the table and they're saying, if they don't get a blood infusion in the next 5 minutes, they're going to die. You are a perfect donor. They will say, let my child die. Like, I would say, I don't think our laws currently support this, but I would support laws that would say if your decisions are against the medical evidence and would in fact lead to greater harm for your child, that the state then has grounds to consider removing your custody of your children. Now, obviously, there should be an investigation. These things should be, like, taken very, very seriously. And trans issues are currently, accepted by every major medical organization in the US, but who knows for how much longer that's going to happen, considering they're destroying the boards of multiple medical organizations and replacing them with crackpots. So if that is true, which the medical evidence currently would suggest it is, then by the same grounds, they would have good reason to say, actually, what you're doing is leading to more harm for the life of this child.
Okay. So from what I'm getting from you is, hey, they didn't pass it, but it's not a bad idea if they did.
Except for also, T, you're describing this bill as though it exists broadly to just be like, oh, if someone came home and was like, I'd like these pronouns, and parents were like, I don't think that's right, that they're going to take the kids. Do you believe a law should be passed to punish the parents of a kid who comes out as gay, and the parents go and force them to have heterosex with them because they think it's going to correct them? So by the way, this happens all the fucking time. Lots of queer people this has happened to. You tell your dad usually that you're gay, and they go get you a hooker or somebody else, and they make you fuck a woman.
No, that's inappropriate.
Do you believe that parent should be...
No, it's breaking the law.
Right, and that's the type of law this is. This is the parent in denying you and trying to correct your queer behavior is abusing you, not simply disagreeing that you're wrong or whatever, that you are being abused for your queer identity. And if you agree that that should be illegal and we should punish those parents, then you pretty much agree that these laws should exist.
Okay, now I just want to mention that at the end of the day, if the kid says, hey, you know what, Mom, I just want to drink liquor. It's like, well, wait till you're 21. Mom, I want to get some tattoos. I want to get tattoos on my face. Oh, wait till you're 18. Mom, I want to smoke cigarettes.
Hey, how well has this worked for heterosexuals and their abstinence-only education? How old were you when you first had sex, T?
I was
Being trans is not the same. Most of these kids, by the way, are just getting a haircut and changing their name and wearing some new fucking clothes. So it's kind of gross to pretend that that is on the same level as drinking alcohol. Like,
this is the point I'm getting
remotely the same.
T, how old did you say you were the first time you had sex? How old were you the first time you had sex?
17.
You're 17, so you weren't even 18. And
No, I wasn't.
Did you go to school in Florida?
In Florida, yes.
I also went to school for 4 years in Florida. I know that the default education there is abstinence only. How did telling you to wait until you were an adult to have sex work out? Clearly it didn't. You started, by the way, I assume you're only talking about the traditional penis and vagina sex, when in reality, any type of multiple manipulation of genitals for the sake of orgasm. If you're
right, but it
would be. Hang on,
it wasn't
T.
taking medication.
T, but you're still talking about heavily important. Oh, by the way, sometimes it is talking about, wait, T, are you telling me that if a 16-year-old boy, cis boy, a not transgender boy, has low testosterone and can't get erections, doesn't wake up with erections, that we wouldn't give that child testosterone for the sake of his sexual health? Or would we?
Right. No, I believe they would.
Yes, we would.
I'm not sure the details, but I believe so. Common sense would be.
Yes. And by the way, that means we would be promptly helping their gender dysphoria. We would be literally giving them gender affirming care for their sexual health and their psychological health. And so it's okay when the cis kids do it, but not the trans kids. When the cis kids need to do the stuff to be able to live their best sexual life when they're an adult or after, even if they're not being told to have sex at that time. When the cis kid is balding prematurely, when the cis kid isn't growing and needs human growth hormone, when the cis kid, or how about when the cis girl has puberty way too early, like 5 or 6 years old? Would you give a 5 or 6 year old puberty blockers, or you would reject them for it?
Now, are these physical medical conditions we're talking about?
Yes,
here?
we are talking about physical medical conditions.
Okay. Because the transgender is usually mostly mental, isn't it?
I'm sorry, sure. Is your brain not biological? Is your brain not? And there are clearly biological factors at play for lots of trans people. Yes, trans is a broad spectrum, and you will find that generally when there's more, the more the biological is at play, the more compelled they feel to make changes. There've been plenty of experiments that have looked at like the different chemical breakdowns and the different way the brains operate. These are still to sit there and go, but fine. You want to say it's purely mental and psychological, even though we're talking about the same drugs and treatment. Would you not give a 14-year-old who is experiencing tremendous depression a medication for that, or anxiety, or schizophrenia?
Right. Now, let me ask you this question.
No. Answer the question. Answer mine first. Would you treat the mental conditions of teenagers?
Oh, I'm not. Listen, I'm not a big fan of pharmaceutical drugs.
Okay, but if a child has extreme depression and is suicidal, and all the data shows that an SSRI can turn that around, and it will be better than them dying, even if you don't like SSRIs, are you giving the kid SSRIs? What's that?
Yes. It'll be given.
Okay, and certainly you think that parents should have the right to get that treatment for their kids, right?
Yes.
So when it comes to cis kids, whether it's a physical, biological condition, or whether it's a mental condition, a psychological thing, you agree that doctors should identify the issue and identify the treatment. But when it comes to trans kids, whether it's biological or psychological, you disagree that doctors should identify the issue and prescribe the treatment.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
If let's say I'm a kid, right? And I'm like, man, you know what? I have very low testosterone. All the issues that you mentioned, right? And the doctor's like, hey, you know what? We'll give you testosterone injections to have to boost you up, what have you not. Now,
because that's what the medical data, and the reason why the doctor is doing that is because that is what all of the data shows us will lead to better outcomes for that child, right?
Agreed. Now, my question to you, if I'm an 8-year-old kid, right? I'm a boy. Right. And I go to my mom like, Mom, I feel like I'm trapped. I'm a woman trapped in a man's body.
Okay.
Right? Now, Mom,
they always go with the 8-year-olds.
Oh, okay. Well, 12. I don't know.
Sure, let's go with 12. Let's start with what age are you still okay? So if a 17-year-old says I'd like to be on puberty blockers, you think they're old enough to go ahead and say, yeah, we can hold off on and give you puberty blockers for an hour? Is a 17-year-old old enough?
I would stick with the 18 is the magic number for everything. So,
but you already said that kids get treatment for medical and psychological procedures according to what the data says will improve their outcomes.
Yes. Now,
okay. And so trans kids want access to the treatments that data says improves their outcomes. But you say no because you're not 18.
Well, once again, I'm asking you. I will answer it. Trust me. I'll answer you. When I want to be a girl now, what exactly is the procedure recommended by the medical authority for me to transition to a woman? Can you please give that to me?
Yeah, so I mean, there's multiple things to consider, like the age that you start. We don't typically go on like a age number. We typically go on the stage of puberty. The age at which you start considering medical interventions is what's called Tanner stage 2 of puberty. The average of that, I believe, is like 11 or 12, maybe a little earlier for girls or people assigned female, rather. Usually first, you're going to engage in something social like haircuts, clothing changes. What the doctors are looking for, usually before they consider medical intervention for someone that age, is what we call persistent, consistent, and insistent, which means, I think it's for like a period of longer than 6 months is usually what the medical stuff would indicate. The child has to be saying, I feel this way. It's really important to me that we do something about it, that I be allowed to express myself. And it's the same kind of theme that they're giving every single time, right? Now, there are what's called informed consent clinics where people can go in, they tell the doctor the situation, the doctor has them go over all of the pros and cons, the potential side effects of medication, and they can get slightly fast-tracked onto medication. But the stipulation of that is they have to trust your word that you actually have been, consistent and insistent for 6 months. And most doctors who are prescribing this kind of medication aren't just going to take your word for it. They're going to want evidence that this kid has been seeing some kind of mental health professional, like a therapist or something, to document that they actually have been, insistent and consistent in this feeling and this belief for a very long time, or for like the appropriate period, right? Then you're going to go on puberty blockers. Usually, if we're talking about the earliest that it can happen, puberty blockers last for a period of no longer than 2 years. After 2 years is where you start to see negative side effects with like bone density and like brain development and things like this. After 2 years, they're either resume their natural puberty, what we call their endogenous puberty, or they go on to some method of cross-sex hormones, whether they're doing the puberty blockers and a tiny bit of hormones, that way they don't age, develop way ahead of their peers, or if they're, now at an appropriate age where they can just start taking a full regimen of cross-sex hormones. So that's usually what that path looks like. Nobody is getting like rushed on to medication. Everyone's being evaluated. I would say that the only weakness in that is that when informed consent clinics might sometimes be too lenient, but that's extremely rare. We actually have evidence from the Journal of the American Medical Association reviewing rates of this care for people under 18. And based on the rates that we know transgender people exist and the rate at which, like, this is the biggest data cohort on trans people that's ever existed. It's like 8 million insurance claims, basically, for all minors who are having insurance in the US.
Right.
Not all minors, but all minors who are in this insurance database, which is like multiple insurance providers. And it found that it's actually way, way, way below the rate that you would expect to see it based on what we know the rates of trans people are. So that is to say that to the extent that trans people are getting this medication and this treatment, it's actually vastly under what we would expect based on the evidence, what they should be getting.
Okay. So from 12 to 14, puberty blockers, and then from 14 to 16, what was the other product that they take after the puberty blockers?
You would just be, after that, as a trans person, you are on cross-sex hormones for, well, I would say the rest of your life. Some people just choose to not be on certain hormones, but there are negative side effects to that too. So you need hormones. It's a sex hormone in your body for your body to function correctly.
Okay.
But yeah, you're on some form of cross-sex hormones.
Okay, cross-sex. Now, here's the thing: what MAGA had an issue with that, and they say a lot. We say a lot is chemical castration. I don't know if you've heard of that, but
yeah, I've heard them say that.
Meaning if, let's say I'm 12, mommy, I want to be a girl, I like, whatever, I want to be a girl. And mommy's like, let's do it. And after, from 12 to 14, I'm taking puberty blockers. So
I do want to make sure any listener who is listening right now is paying attention to the fact that how hyperbolic you are being and presenting it as though it is a super casual conversation. That this is not a thing that happens, that somebody just willy-nilly comes home and is like, I just want to be a girl now. Okay, let's do it. It's never like that. So just want to address that even right now, the point you're making is like locked in on hyperbole is necessary.
No, I'm just
I know you're giving a scenario that doesn't really happen, and you're being very, you're acting as though it's very arbitrary, and we're pointing that out. We will continue with the hypothetical. We'll continue with the hypothetical, but with that acknowledged.
Okay. I guess you think I'm making light or fun of the situation, which I'm not. But okay.
No. It's that we're trying to point out that the hypothetical isn't really tied to reality. Is what we're trying to point out.
Okay.
Yes, I understand MAGA say this.
MAGA. Yeah, you're saying the thing that's bugging MAGA is this event that we think happens all the time that isn't happening.
Okay.
Once again, the misinformation amongst MAGA.
Is there chemical castration using these products?
So
I don't think you know what that phrase means. The fact that you just asked it like that.
Yeah, the question doesn't make sense is the problem. Because here's the thing, T. Lots of medications have negative effects on fertility for kids. A lot of recreational drug use has effects on fertility for kids. And I don't know about you, but I was smoking pot when I was 15. My friends were like, hey, we're going to go out to the woods across the street. You want to come smoke pot with us? And I was like, sure. Yeah. That has negative effects on the fertility of kids. Cancer treatments have negative effects on the fertility of kids. But something that's already in the standards of care for kids who are getting this treatment before they would otherwise be fertile, just like it is for cancer treatment and lots of other things that affect this, is they offer fertility preservation. I started treatment when I was very young, and I was offered fertility preservation when I was like 15.
The number of people from puberty blockers alone who lost their fertility is so low that it's considered 0% because it doesn't even beat the numbers of people who spontaneously lose their fertility.
Okay.
I looked it up for you. So again, we're going to let you make your last point because we do want to move on to other calls. But T, so far, anybody who's listening, if you are MAGA and you think you can do better, is going to have watched a call where every single point you made was, here's the thing you need to know about what bothers us. And every single one was, what bothers us is the lies we have believed that we have told and then told each other are true. We sit around, at our barbecue with our Republican friends and a beer and are going, that there's kitty litters in schools, right? And they go, yeah, I heard about that. I think my cousin actually knows the guy who went there, and nobody's verifying, nobody's checking. You're all just building off of each other and going like, yeah, that happens because we say it does. But if you try to go find data for it, you try to go find evidence, even the things that you got close to, that there were dildos in a opt-in 30-minute presentation for seniors where you're talking about second graders being shown how to use dildos, wasn't even close to the same thing. So right now, the thesis would be the main reason why you and other MAGA have problem with trans people is you have no idea what that issue even entails. You're just worried that at some point you're accidentally going to try to fuck a person you think is a man.
If you give me another minute, I'm going to explain to you what the agenda that MAGA believes the whole transgender situation is. Once again, just to recap, the information that I presented, I didn't have website information to go ahead and back it up. But I'll give you an example real quick. If you go to... You
have 30 seconds because I really have to get to a call that just came in.
No problem. I just want to say this, though, finally, is that the reason why government end up aggressively pushing the transgender movement on the population is for one simple thing. Homosexuals, transgender, and autistic people have one, or not one, but you have one main thing in common that they're interested in to promote. Is that they're less likely to reproduce and create families. And their goal is to reduce the population in our country and global. Yes.
Whoa. Since when are we forcing people to reproduce? Who gives a fuck? First of all, I actually want kids, but it doesn't matter. It's my right to choose to have or not have kids.
Should anybody have a child who doesn't want to?
No.
Then the point is moot. Anyway, I told you we have to move on because I really do have to jump this call here in a second. But that point is completely moot. If you don't believe that anyone should have, people who want to have kids should have kids, and there's more than enough kids in the adoption system. And all these Republicans, who are, hang on, all of these Republicans who are talking about reducing children, blah, 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 blah. You know, I would believe them if they would go and actually adopt more, but they don't. Yes, they're MAGA.
It is Republican.
It's MAGA. This is a MAGA Republican thing.
Right. I'm just saying that the government agenda is to reduce the population.
No, it isn't. That's a ridiculous claim. That's a ridiculous claim. The current capitalist...
No, it's conspiracy.
You can call it another time and we'll go into it longer, but the current capitalist nation would not benefit from that.
Speaking with you.
Thank you, T.
What was your name? I'm sorry.
T. It's Jimmy and Arden.
Thank you for your time.
We'll talk to you next time.
All right.
See you later.
The government serves the fucking oligarchy, and that would not work out. Hang on.
Bruh.
Let me see if...
I was not expecting to get thrown into that conspiracy at the end of the call.
Which, I mean, that's the fucking whatchamacallit one, the Elon Musk one. Hey, this is Christian in Texas, right? Hi, Christian.
Hey guys.
Hey, you're a piece of shit. Fuck you in your fucking face, you piece of garbage.
Why would you call me that?
Hey, are you a Christian or a theist or an atheist?
No, I don't adhere to anything like that.
Do you believe in God?
Yes, but you got my heart racing.
Yeah, fuck you in your fucking face. Call in and tell our screener they're too emotional. I will fucking... You are a fucking garbage person.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, fuck you in your fucking face. Apologize to the screener right now.
Christ, no decency.
I'm sorry, what? Say the whole fucking thing.
I'm sorry that I was worried about you possibly being emotional.
No. A real apology. Don't make it her fault.
That's what I was really worried about.
The real apology is, I'm sorry I was an asshole and presumed your emotional state when you're just there doing your fucking job, and that I called back in to try and reassert some sort of authority over you and talk down to you. Something like that, where you're taking responsibility for you being a giant fucking sack of shit. That's what you would fucking do. You fucking piece of asshole garbage.
I didn't commit an act of violence. Was that violent, though?
I give a fuck if it's violent. You're a piece of fucking shit. So Whoever said the standard is whether it's violent or not.
Label what I did. Label me. What was it other than sack of shit? Like, label it in a way that I can...
No, sack of shit works for me, homie. Apologize for being a sack of shit to the screener.
I don't really know exactly...
You don't know a lot of fucking shit. The amount you don't know that most people do would fill a shit ton of libraries.
Tell me exactly what you want to have happen. Do you want to educate me?
No. Actually, legitimately, you called my company and harassed one of my employees and was a little fucking sack of shit. So all I did was bring you on to tell you what a fucking sack of shit. If you told me I was too emotional, you'd be fine. This entire call is to tell you that you're a fucking piece of shit.
All right. Well,
your laugh sucks too. You suck.
Dude. I wish you a future of stepping on rakes.
I'm sorry your dick is so dry. Your dick sucks. Bye, Christian. Fuck off. Fuck with my people. Fuck with my people. I don't give a fuck. Fuck you in your fucking face. Fuck you. Sorry, I got a little heated.
Yeah, no, that's justified. I hate when people talk down to our screeners at all. Like, it's one thing to talk shit to us. Like, we're in the arena out here, but our screeners are trying so hard to be nice to people who we know are diametrically opposed to us in value, so that you guys can get on the show to have a real discussion. To be rude to those people is so fucking unbelievable.
Right.
Like,
The screeners don't set the policy. By the way, the thing he had melted down about, and our screener was trying to like parse with them, was that they refuse and would not shut up about they are not going to give pronouns when you don't have to. If somebody calls in and you want to say, especially on this show, the other channel, I don't know, we're a little bit, but generally if you're like, I'm not going to give pronouns, we're just going to put none and we're going to move on. But he's going on rants about no, I'm blah, 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 and then fucking mad that they were asked if they were a theist or an atheist. When it's like, actually, it's not necessarily terribly important for this show, but he melted down about it. I don't care if callers want to share that as well. You can pass on any of the information except for a name and location. And even the location can just be broad. Like, fuck with my people. I give a fuck. I don't give a fucking fuck. I will fucking shit on your face, you bad dick motherfuckers.
Whoa.
I'm sorry, your penis fucking sucks. Fuck you. I care about my people. All right, let me purge that out. You can throw your shit at me. You can't throw your shit at my people. We'll talk to Steve.
Yeah.
Steve in California. Steve, you are on the line with Arden and Jimmy. How are you doing? Were you kind to our screener?
Yes, I was. I answered the questions they should be answered.
And it wasn't hard, was it? Because like you're here, you know that like you didn't have, we obviously are going to disagree about a lot on this call, but you were able to be nice to the screener. It's not fucking hard.
Exactly.
Thank you, Steve.
Well, that's why and you know, in this country we're so divided. I think if people shouted at each other less and communicated to each other, and just had dialogue, everyone would be a lot happier.
Maybe
I'm going to be shouting or
I'm gonna be shouting.
I will say this environment is one that we specifically carve out to be where people are allowed to get heated. I mean, that's kind of what debate is, right? So I'm not going to promise that we're going to be all best friends by the end of this call, but I always try to give you the benefit of the doubt. I always want to match your energy and only kind of get feisty if you're giving me spice. Yeah. So.
No, of course. And the reason I called, because I was flipping through the YouTube shorts, I'm like, I got to call. So and I started watching. I was watching like 35 minutes. Anyways, basically, what I want to debate about today is not the statistics, the numbers, is the social atmosphere and communication and dialogue amongst the LGBTQ community and amongst the atmosphere and dialogue of the schooling and education community and the medical treatment and diagnoses amongst minors. So a little bit of backstory, I kind of explained it to your screener a little bit. I used to be transgender, and I received transgender affirming care between the age of 16 and 18 in Northern California. So I've been there, and I transitioned back. So you are correct on a lot of your points. However, I took hormone suppressing therapy for 18 months. So not the full 2-year cycle, but 18 months. And basically what I want to kind of harp down on is it has nothing to do with the statistics. It has to do with social pressure amongst minors. And that's what I think so many people lose focus on.
Sure. Okay. You're saying a lot. So I do want to clarify. Are you saying that you don't want to focus on the statistics because you know broadly the statistics are going to support that detransitioning, for example, is very low? And if you did look at the statistics, you might be tempted to say, for example, an individual's detransition story would not be enough. That, of course, with all medical interventions, somebody's going to get the wrong treatment for them at some point. But if we do talk about the statistics, that might undermine the anecdotal power of your individual story. Like if I were to engage in even not real statistics, just talking broadly how as a queer man, I find semen repulsive. But that doesn't, if you were to look more broadly at the queer man experience, I don't think you're going to find that that's a very common experience among queer men. So my attitude about semen isn't going to be the same attitude that other queer men have. Is that why we're staying away from the statistics? Because we want the anecdotal power of your story to be stronger? Because that's what it feels a little bit like.
No, I don't think it's more just on my anecdotal story. It's that statistics can be skewed to put a narrative and a bias. simply from statistical data
and
gathering.
you would say that
And
anecdotes
yes,
are going
there-
to be better than stats for that? You're saying statistics
No.
could be skewed, but anecdotes can't? Anecdotes
Also,
are by
when
nature
statistics are skewed,
Yeah, by
they leave
definition, anecdotes
the
are-
good thing about peer-reviewed data is that when statistics are skewed, they leave a footprint, right? We can look back at what was the population size for this study, where did they source those, like what was the the method by which they sourced participants, what conclusions are they drawing from the data, what is the p-value of this specific data set here. Like there's information within peer-reviewed data, so if it's being skewed or manipulated in a malicious way, we can usually point out to it, which is why, for example, there are multiple studies that anti-trans people cite all the time that I can tell you why I don't actually factor those into my conception of the model of transness from a medical perspective, because there's reasons the data was bad, like the rapid onset gender dysphoria study. It's so poor in its methodology, just for like one example. But
I think
yeah,
I could
so
get to the, even using your anecdote, Steve, and taking you at your word that you really are a detransition and all that stuff, because we don't have any other choice at the moment. I mean, it just wouldn't be effective to just be like, I'll just say you're lying. Whatever caused you to fall through the cracks and receive trans care when you actually weren't trans, is that thing something that is currently systemic and being broadly applied? And if it is, what is that thing?
Exactly. So that's what I believe. So I believe
Great. So
that
what
has
was
to do with the social,
what caused you to fall through the
social
cracks?
bias and pressure. So that's why I was going to give you my quick little brief story. So when I was 15, I was overweight. I wasn't a socially outgoing individual, and I was in kind of a dark hole of online chat boards and things like that, as a lot of youth currently are across the country, because they don't have social connection skills because we're chronically online.
Sure, we don't need to.
And
we don't need to go on the hypothetical tangents about psychological states. Just with your
okay.
story, please.
So I got involved in online forums and stuff, and I started to change my opinion because I believed I had friends, right, on these spaces. And I was like, hey, maybe I should look into transitioning. Maybe I am a woman. Maybe I am not comfortable in who I am, right? So I actually, and as you spoke earlier, the previous caller, I spoke to my parents, and this is what I firmly believe. Where I grew up in the Bay Area of Northern California, it was all gung-ho. Yes, we are affirming. That's great. And I do think that's important in a lot of ways, but I also think an over-enthusiasm for a 16-year-old's decision and then just going gung-ho on it was not the most sane and rational, response.
What year was
Looking
this?
back, my parents probably should have had. 2018.
2018.
So,
okay, great. 7 years ago.
So my parents took me to my pediatric doctor at the time, which I wasn't seeing very much because I was 16 at this point. And so I went to my pediatric care facility and I said, hey, I'd like to transition. I'm like, great, we can do a psych eval. That psych evaluation lasted 20 to 30 minutes. And I was immediately started on a prescription for hormone therapy in a pill form and an injection form within 2 weeks. And I did this. And
did they ask for any evidence of evaluation, like therapy or anything previously?
That's what I'm saying. It was a psych evaluation that lasted 23 minutes. And again, the reason I'm bringing back now,
actually, we actually don't even need to go further. I'm glad that you gave us this story, because I think Arden and I are both being able to tell you what the cracks were. First of all, I think, Arden, were you already kind of getting there? They clearly broke what the protocol was supposed to be.
Well, to a certain extent, but also if you're saying you got a psych eval, which
20 to 30 minutes only is what he said.
Well, a 30-minute psych, listen, so for example, at a lot of informed clinics, the person who writes your prescription, they're technically a doctor, but it's being recommended by like a nurse. You're only really seeing the nurse, and like the doctor is just like the head of the hospital or whatever, right? That's really common structure.
Mm-hmm.
But
yes,
if you're getting evaluated by a psychological professional who's then informing the medical provider, that is less concerning to me. I think a psychological professional could look at a 16-year-old and say, oh, if you're telling me you've had this history based on everything that I understand and everything you know, I can probably make an informed decision. So I'm not... You met with a psychologist or a psychiatrist of some kind for this evaluation? It wasn't a nurse?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
A psychiatrist.
First was a
So
nurse,
that's an even higher level of
psychiatrist,
education than a psychologist or a therapist.
Yep.
That's somebody who had to go to med school, become like a
Exactly.
doctor.
Oh, I'm aware because my
Right,
fiance now is in medical school. So
You say you're
I'm
aware,
aware.
but implied here would be if that was truly the only psychological intervention you had gotten up to that point, you had no therapy or anything else, was that you would have apparently figured out what the right answers were to say and presumably deceived them in your answers. Because if this was the first, you made it sound like you went from telling your parents straight to the doctor and got the psych eval, and then you turned around and just had it. You had your what'd you say? You were on HRT? And none of this is resembling what is the common experience of people, which is lots of therapy and that higher level evaluation happening with a lot more of information to back up. Not that it's happening willy-nilly at the beginning of the process.
But that's what I'm saying, is it's common amongst hospital providers and amongst medical staff that have a higher level of education and that are in that position of power to give that evaluation based on the DSM, which is the Diagnostic Statistics Manual, DSM-5,
We know what the
is what
DSM
they
is.
use. Yep, it used to be called gender dysphoria. In 2013, they removed the term
We don't
gender
need that.
dysphoria. Okay.
We're very
just-
familiar with all this. We talk about this stuff all the time.
Right? It's about explaining it, right?
Great.
So,
we'll figure out
long story
how
short-
to keep the extras on the show going. Why don't we stick to the relevant facts to our conversation?
Yeah. So what I'm getting at is these doctors that are heavily pressured by the medical journals and communities that are backed not only scientifically, but also monetarily by conglomerates that have a financial benefit in having.
Wow,
I
we've
don't say
jumped
young people
conspiracies.
transition, but by having, not by just by
We've
having
jumped conspiracies from social
a-
pressure was why you did it to why you did it was
To
now
big
the
pharma is
doctors.
paying doctors to push trans care.
Right,
Yeah.
they are targeting you because of the big monetary incentive to get you under the knife. I'm going to put it this way, Steve. I think that you're probably exaggerating a lot of your story. And even if there is a core story in here that is true, it's clearly not reflective of what people commonly have happened. So if you ended up with a nefarious doctor, that sucks. That doesn't mean deny care to anybody else. But also,
No, and I'm not saying deny
most
care
of
to
the
others. I'm
things
just
that
saying
you
there needs
have
to be more
identified, you could
vetting.
also just say the fact that this happened in 2018, which 7 years ago doesn't sound like a long time ago, but the sheer difference in public knowledge and public education as well as institutional education. If what the story you're telling is true, which again, I have a lot of doubts about, a lot of it would be accounted for just the increase in public information and education in the last 7 years.
But now getting to my point. So if I may interject, you just said we need more public information and more
I said
research.
we have more.
We need more time.
We have more.
We have more. No.
Okay,
in
so
7 years,
what you're saying,
right?
so
I'm one of
you
the-
butted in to say,
the
to finish
few
my
that
point, and what you
might
actually said was I was about to kind of rebut anyway. So I mentioned the study from the Journal of the American Medical Association earlier, which actually is like, again, these studies are the most ideal data sets you can get for epidemiological stuff. If you don't know what epidemiology is, it's like the rate at which things happen to people. And one of those things being trans stuff and trans care, right? So as Jimmy's pointing out, this is overwhelmingly not even close to what the most typical experience is for trans people. But
Truly
in the
a
last
fringe
call,
case,
you'll
yeah.
notice I had a specific carve out where I said the only weak point in this thing is that there are some informed consent clinics who probably do rush the process to a certain extent. But I also said, or I don't know exactly how I phrased it, but I left a specific carve out in there for something like this, where I'm specifically saying, if you have a psychiatrist, like the highest level of psychological training attainment, and they're evaluating you for 30 minutes, I think most psychiatrists could probably make a pretty accurate diagnosis in that time. Would I say that typically, and I've said on the channel the whole time I've been a part of the line, that I want evidence-based, like strict guidelines that everyone is following. I don't want anyone being rushed into or rushed out of transition or anything like that. But I think most qualified psychiatrists could probably accurately diagnose somebody in 30 minutes. But it's not surprising to me that of all the places where somebody could fall through the cracks, it might be at something like that. But I'm still going to bet that their rate of that happening is still extraordinarily low. So what you're bringing us isn't any evidence of social pressures or medical pressures or anything like that. You're an individual who got evaluated. The psychiatrist got it wrong. And now what? Because
I'm still very skeptical about if it happened and if the psychiatrist got it wrong based on the information.
I can send you proof to an email if you want.
Steve, if you shared the information with the psychiatrist that you would basically, this had just occurred to you recently, that it was extremely recent that you had decided that, then told your parents and then jumped straight to it, I'm extremely skeptical that a psychiatrist pulled that trigger.
Of the social pressures.
Well, a minute ago you thought it was the pharmaceutical pressures.
Pharmaceutical pressures, but it's a social pressure. It's a cumulative, or excuse me, a mix, a large different societal pressures amongst the healthcare community that we need.
But that doesn't make sense based on the large scale studies. If that were true, we would see much higher rates of care than are actually being given. And we don't see that. We see extraordinarily low rates of care being given. I could even probably pull up the numbers here in a minute. I've got a folder somewhere on my computer that has that data.
So when you go, and this isn't my situation, but when you go, if you're 15 and you go to a pediatrics clinic and you say in private with a parent there, you could say, I would like my parent to leave the room, and then to say to your pediatrician, hey, I believe I am having gender dysphoria, and I would like to speak further about that, right? The parent, my parents are super supportive, okay, and good on them. You know, they thought that what they were doing was helping me, right? It's happening more and more, and I'm
statistically speaking, it was a good decision.
Statistically speaking, yes, that parents who help their children, no matter what their cause is or whatever they're feeling emotionally, that is good that a parent supports their child. But what I'm saying is we can't be jumping the gun and saying everyone that feels this way immediately.
That's what I'm telling you. That's not. So I found the data. So for people under 14 years of age, the rate of receiving puberty blockers to patients assigned female at birth was 49.9 per 100,000. Or wait, no, that's not right. Oh, it was 49.9 per 100,000. And for assigned male at birth, it was 25.34 per 100,000. So you can do the math there. That's like 0.01% or something like that of the total population. And if trans people are actually 1% of the population, that means that the rate at which care is being given is like a tenth of the rate at which trans people occur. So again, could this theoretically happen to some people like you, Steve? Absolutely, because anything can happen. Lots of crazy shit happens. We live in a crazy world, but the rate at which care is being given at one of the largest scale epidemiological studies to ever exist on this topic shows that the rate of care is extraordinarily low.
But that's what I'm saying. It's increasing, and we need to take a step back, and we need to go, wait, let's take a minute. Let's collect more data.
These data were collected from insurance claims between 2018 and 2022. So if it was really increasing, like y'all like to say, everyone likes to say, oh, it's increasing so much. Well, first of all, there's lots of reasons for that, good reasons for that. But if it actually were, again, it would be close to or higher than the rate at which we typically expect to see trans people in the population. And again, it's like at most a tenth of that.
But that number is going up. And here's the other thing. My parents were private pay. And
you don't have data for that, though. You just have your personal experience.
No data.
You do realize in medical, if we looked at medical data, the number of other races is going up even when it isn't, because we actually started tracking other races. The number of women that exist, if we're looking at medical data, goes up because we didn't track women's medical data the same way we tracked men's. Yes, when you actually start tracking and identifying people and having good methods of identifying people and educating the populace on what their needs may be if you're in that group, the data shows an increase, but it doesn't mean an increase in the number of occurrence. It means an increase in the effectiveness of the tracking. I'm letting the chat, I'm giving them another minute to decide whether or not to continue this call, because I think this call from the ground up is dishonest.
there needs to be more. And if you want, do you have an email I can send you honest care, and then I can even get back in the show. And what I'm getting at is that there's a lot of social pressure amongst the medical community and specifically amongst Bay Area elites who believe it's a good thing to have their child transition because it helps with their social standing, which is kind of what happened to my parents, and they will openly admit to it, is yes, it did look good for them on paper and for their own social circle that my child is going to be transitioning. And look at us. We're so
Steve,
happy.
I'm going to tell you, there is maybe 2 people on the entire fucking planet for whom having a trans child boosts their social standing. Yeah. If you actually were attached to reality at all, you know that is the most absurd. Like, you make me want to use words I morally opposed to using because that is such a ridiculous statement.
It really does.
It's Charlie Kirk.
It really doesn't happen, Steve.
Like, what is going on?
No, I'm serious. I will send you anything you want.
So I just want to point out again that when we're talking about this, I brought data. I brought epidemiological data. I gave you number per 100,000 at which the rate is occurring. You came with your personal story and that you feel like it boosted your parents' social cred. You're full of shit. Like, this may have happened to you, but your perspective on this is full of shit.
All right, Steve. This is your last sentence. The thing.
I'll send you an email, and I'll provide documents and proof, and I'll send an email. Maybe I can get back on the show so we can talk further about it.
Great. Send an email with data. Thank you, Steve. Bye.
Yep. You have a great day.
You too.
Like, you can send me your entire therapy session. It doesn't change the fact that epidemiological data are infinitely more valuable to what you're talking about than your personal story.
What is Arden Arsler? Let's go. Did you say it and I didn't hear?
No, I said you make me want to use words I'm morally opposed to using. And
Redacted.
Deluxe may have spotted the word that I was thinking of in my head, but I didn't say it out loud. So
redacted. Just it's y'all. I'm doing fine with it. A few people were like, I think it's practically the same thing, and I said, yep. I'm definitely using it where I used to use the old one, but that's not what we police. We police the word, not the meaning behind the word, obviously. Because everybody
I have mixed feelings about the approach, but I'm not going to pretend that I don't have the urge to say it when people say things that are.
My life's happier because I say redacted.
That when they say things that are that.
It's good. That redacted.
No, don't egg me on. Listen, I'm being good.
I won't. It's unfair pressure from me. I do want to we have more calls to come, I assure you. A lot of them are spicy, but we do have to take a slight moment just to announce a couple things. First of all, first announcement, don't miss LineCon Online Live this Saturday on the line. Patreon.com/call the line. That is where you can come to our first. It's going to be 3 lectures and an hour-long Q&A. This one with Owen Morgan talking about Hitler's Christianity in Hitler's America. Then Dr. Aaron Adair is giving a lecture on what has physics done for you lately. And Matt Dillahunty is doing an intro to understanding logical fallacies, essentially. And that, if you want to attend it live, you have to use we're using Patreon as our ticketing system, and everybody who is at that thing will have access to buy a first edition shirt, a Zerba shirt that will only be for the people who are at the first one. Other than that, my second announcement, Christian, if you're watching, you're still a fucking piece of shit. Fuck you. All right.
Is this, I think I've seen you do that to just a caller. Is it? Wait, I'll put it in Discord.
If you're
no, never mind. It was because he harassed Luthien. That's right.
Yeah. You don't fuck with like, and for the record, I would have been pissed off about it at any of our screeners, but it doesn't help that it's the screener I sleep with. Okay. Listen, it's people are going to take that out of context. My partner now helps me with stuff. They get paid. It's not free labor. They're in the other room.
It's just really frustrating to have somebody be like, oh, it's being pushed. That is a claim that needs data backing it up, right, which would be best supported by numbers per 100,000 as is standard in typical epidemiological references, which is really frustrating when I can be like, I have like one of the best data sets that you could possibly get on this topic. And for someone to be like, yeah, but my mom liked that I was trans. And it's like, congratulations, you and nobody else on the planet.
Right. I'm just like, I guess it's time for me to admit I am being hired to go undercover in social groups to encourage people to be trans, and I've been hired by Big Pharma. Big Pharma,
Yes.
they want those dollars, and I gotta go around because people are like, oh, you have a very magnetizing personality. You're gonna be able to convince a lot of people to be trans. I assume we both are
True.
suspecting that line 2, we know what their question's going to be. Do you assume it's what I
probably
assume
have a
it's gonna
good
be?
sense, but I mean,
It's up to you.
oh, sorry. I was looking at the second entry, not 6-2.
No, 6-2, yeah. Yeah.
I think I saw a version of this earlier that was actually like, why do trans people call it something else than what it is?
Oh, I
guess if
assumed
you
it was just
wanted-
going to be you're trans, so I'm going to ask about your body. I assumed it was going to be that.
If you want to give them a shot,
It's up to you.
I mean, if they ask that kind of question, you can drop them. If they ask the question I thought, then we'll entertain it. Give it a shot.
All right. James in New York, just in case you're calling to be a piece of crap, just know if you ask about our genitals, I'm going to ask about yours.
Fine by me.
All right, James, go ahead.
No, it's just a general question. Trust me, I'm not like the other 2 or 3 dumbasses. I don't really know how to ask, but like, I guess what it said in the prompt, like, why do
Birds
some trans people
suddenly-
refer
sorry.
to body parts that aren't like anatomically what they are, I guess, barring like any surgeries or whatever? I hope that's not coming off as like me trying to like...
I get what you're saying. Yeah, this is the question that I thought it was.
Got it.
I mean, it's really personal to every trans person. I know for some people to even like the dysphoria they have is so strong that even like acknowledging or talking about the sources of their dysphoria like worsens it for them. Like that is definitely part of the case for me. So like I'm not keen on calling things that they're not, but I know for some trans people that is a way they're able to like engage with their sexuality and engage with their body while not spurring on dysphoria. So I see chats, we're kind of talking coded because chat's asking question marks. To spell it out for you, sometimes trans people will like call a trans woman might call her penis her vagina or something, or call her butthole her vagina.
I've heard Shanus.
Those are things that happen, right? I think it's mostly because people just don't want to have dysphoria, but they still want to be able to talk about sex and how we engage with sex. And we live in a cis-normative culture, and so the language is pretty much solely oriented around the sexual experiences of cis people. And so I think that trans people have just learned how to talk about our bodies and our sex in a way that
But
fits
also like
the dignity of cis people.
Cis people
Yeah.
do it too, though. I'm like thinking about this and I'm like, holy fucking shit. Why does everybody do it? Especially, and by the way, you know who does it the most? Cis men with dysphoria about the size of their penis. Right? Like,
I was going to say a lot of gay men that belong to that community will refer, like just based off of what I see on Twitter or whatever. Like say bears, for example, constantly see dudes referring to other dudes' chests as like their quote unquote titties.
Sure,
I mean, I know
sure,
it's
but like I've also heard
like-
cocks called like meat rods and cucumbers and look,
Oh my
I
god,
gotta.
Chad is actually having a competition about this right now. I see Sheenus, Glock, I saw Princess Wand and Button or something like that. So yeah, Chad is now taking this as an opportunity to euphemize,
I
make
guess.
euphemisms.
People just be
parts.
nicknaming their genitals. It's like
True.
Is that a roll of quarters in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? Then sometimes it's laundry day. I don't know. It's not that, to me, it's not that odd. If anything, it's like it is common for a person to have a concept, whether they are trans or not, of their ideal gender characteristics, and to think of themselves as. Do you think that like Elon Musk imagines himself as the naturally balding person he is? No, he imagines himself with a full head of hair, and then he goes buys a full head of hair, even though he's been balding since he was like 20 years old. But it's a very common gender dysphoria. I guess it's not dysphoria. What would it be if it's if it is.
There's some people would argue it's dysphoria. Sometimes I waffle on that because I feel like dysphoria is so useful in a specifically like clinical trans setting.
So maybe
but
dysmorphia?
I mean, it is kind of what it is. No, I don't like using dysmorphia because that
like
causes people to conflate the two things.
Yeah. I know I get body dysmorphia, but not about gender stuff specifically, more about my weight dysmorphia. If I said dysphoria.
I think this goes for most things though in the trans topic when people are like, oh, why did trans people do X? You should also ask before you actually ask that question out loud. And get genuinely for almost every single question. Do cis people also do that?
Right.
Because the question is going to be yes, 99% of like people will always be like, why do trans people reinforce stereotypes? Like, why do you have to have long hair if you're a girl? And I'm like, look around you at the cis women who all have long hair. Like, what do you want from
look
me?
like girl? Yeah. Look at it. Look at the way people are spending money on. It's a gender affirming care, for example, is the big one. 98% of gender affirming care is done on cis people, not trans. It's something crazy.
I have another good study on that specifically. Yeah. But also from the Journal of American Medical Association, that epidemiological data. This one was an even bigger sample. I think it was like 22 million people. And it was the rate at which surgery happens on minors. And they found out of like 156 surgeries happening on minors that were gender affirming care, or 100, I don't remember the exact number. It was like 161 or something. 156 of them were cis men getting breast reduction. So cis boys.
Yeah. I could have used
so
that.
Yeah, it is
maybe still could.
Overwhelming.
These make me a little dysmorphic every now and then. I had too much soy milk as a kid because I'm lactose intolerant. At least that's what Andrew Tate told me.
That's what did it, yeah.
Any other question, James? Did that answer it for you?
Honestly, that was about it, honestly. Like,
cool.
I figured this was going to end up being a short call, kind of, because that was honestly my only question. But the only other thing I wanted to just, I guess, quickly touch base on
was how much a piece of shit Christian was.
Caller.
Again, caller. Sorry, Jimmy's trying to be funny and he interrupted you.
Jimmy succeeded.
I know, like I know I wasn't the only one, but like it feels good knowing like I'm not the only dude who's like, I guess, common-verse. Like I like being the cause of it happening, but
no, I don't even like my own. I don't want to touch my own even.
It's the same. Like I don't want my own touching me. Like
it's really disgusting. Yeah.
What are we talking about now? Wait, I missed. What is?
Cum is gross.
Okay.
Cum is gross. Okay. Imagine liking guys. I'm like
the cum conversation went over my head. Honestly,
I'll get
it's
you
a
98% of the way there, and you got to finish yourself, buddy. That's
every bisexual woman I've ever known, which is 80% of the women I've ever known. Just kidding. Not really. All feel like being attracted to men is an affliction, a curse.
Pretty rough. All right, James. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
See ya.
Have a good one.
Bye. Okay, that wasn't as weird as I thought it was going to be until you two brought up touching your own cum. Then it got weird.
Well, don't you worry. I can make it weirder again. Let's talk. Go ahead.
Or not. No, I'm just kidding.
Rachel in Wisconsin, you are on the line with Jimmy and Arden. I might leave you with Arden for a moment because I gotta pee. Arden just asked in the Discord, trying to be secret, how late we're going. Till you want to. I'm gonna just go whenever.
Yeah,
anyway, go ahead, Rachel.
Okay, so my whole thing, one, is you guys classifying all MAGA people as trans haters. We're not all trans.
Yes, you are. Yep.
No, I'm not.
Even if you don't personally hold animus toward it, if you vote for the Nazis, you're a Nazi. If you vote for trans hate, if you vote for Project 2025, if you voted for the Nazis, you're a Nazi.
I'm not a Nazi. I'm a Jew.
Tell Stephen Miller that.
Rachel, lots of trans people hate trans people.
And we were talking about a metaphor, by the way. If you are MAGA, you are voting MAGA, and you are supporting MAGA, you are operating as a hater of trans people, even if you personally like trans people. MAGA is hurting trans people. There's no way around it. Yeah, I see you're related to one.
If I can put it, Rachel, my dad is related to me, and he hates me. So
that I have ever been around.
Uh-huh.
Okay. that I have involved and had a conversation about this topic because it is so deeply personal to me.
Yep.
The objection is when the medical intervention in children.
Yeah, you're full of shit. I mean, that might be everyone you talk to, but MAGA's thing doesn't. MAGA, when they're coming in, they're doing their argument. They're not talking about, they're talking about some completely other issue, and then they think they've got the gotcha. Okay, what is a woman then? What is a woman? That actually, what MAGA hates is that there are people born with penises that are presenting themselves as women. Because let's be honest, they don't really care much about the other people. They might have some animus, but MAGA's hatred is at queer men and trans AMAB people.
So if I can jump in here real quick, Rachel, and I do want to hear what you have to say. For me, when you're saying that, like, oh, not all MAGA people, hate trans people, like, sure, I don't think my dad would tell me he hates me, right? But he voted for a world where I have had less rights. I've had to work about 3 times as harder in my day-to-day life because now my rights have been rolled back. Now I'm afraid in my state that I live in to go out in public and go to the bathroom because the laws are getting more and more harsh, more and more scary, more and more restrictive. My ID is at threat of being redacted in a way that causes me to have to out myself to anyone who I present my ID towards. So whether or not you hate me, you are actively advocating for a world that makes my life demonstrably worse, which to me is indistinguishable from you hating me.
Okay, here's my question. Was your birth certificate changed when you transitioned? Because my brother's was.
What relevance is it to you what my birth certificate has on it?
Okay, because his birth certificate now says he was born a male, and because his birth certificate says he was born a male and not a female, he is at no risk of any of the things that you say are happening.
That's not true.
Happening.
That's not
Literally
true.
Laws
He's absolutely at risk. People who've had their birth certificate changed, people who have had their birth certificate changed and applied for like a passport, right? Had the US government send them, despite the fact that their birth certificate said female, there's no indication of their actual assigned sex, and despite the fact that their previous ID had female on it, were sent by the US government IDs that invalidated their gender. If you think the US government doesn't know because you're the person in your life who's trans, let me finish, I'm almost there. If the person in your life who's trans, I think you said it was your son, I don't know if I remember. If you think that the US government doesn't know what their birth certificate originally said, you are very lost because they absolutely know and they will absolutely forcibly change it.
You're basing stuff like you guys did to the other caller on your personal experience.
No, absolutely not. Actual laws and data. You're the one sitting here saying you're the
community is going.
That's funny.
You are so full of fucking shit because Rachel, please shut up, you hateful monster toward trans people. Please shut up for a moment. Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
Rachel, you literally you were given data, you were giving laws, you were given information that at an institutional level is true, and you said, my brother is fine. You're the one who has introduced anecdotes against data, not the other way around. By the way, one of those things would be that the AP NORC poll conducted in May 2025 showed that a large majority of Republicans would take away any public health insurance coverage for gender affirming care. So much for loving trans people. You actually want them to lose their health care. I will now unmute you and you can take those corrections and see what you want to do with them.
First of all, state insurance has never paid for any medical intervention for gender affirming care.
Excuse me, say that again?
Actually wrong.
Sorry,
so
Rachel.
Easily demonstrably wrong.
Rachel, that's a lie.
What drugs are you on?
Well, then that's your state. My point is, if you have a problem with the way we live in the United States of America, if your state...
If you tell me to move, I am going to scream.
You can.
Rachel, you can leave.
You think you can just move out of the country? What drugs are you on?
Rachel,
please tell me what drugs you're on right now. List every single drug you've taken in the last 6 hours.
Having any problems with
Rachel,
it
you leave
whatsoever.
America. You hate America clearly because America was built as a country that can adapt and change as we get new information that should advance as science advances. Nah, you leave America. You leave America. You hate the Constitution. You hate trans people who are American citizens. Leave America. Get the fuck out of America. You're a piece of shit. You hate it here.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't.
Why do you hate your
Nor do I
trans
hate
child?
trans people.
You hate your trans kid.
Your brother,
You keep
whatever
voting.
he is.
First of all, not my child. It's my
Why did you
brother,
tell
and
the
I don't
screener it
hate
was
him.
your
He's the
child?
best thing that ever happened to me.
Why'd you tell the screener it was your
Because
child?
my daughter, first of all, I told the screener two things. I said I have a trans brother, and I also have a girl who, up until she was 13, almost 14, told me she was a boy.
So a minute
And
ago
by
when
the
I
time
said,
she
why do you
went
hate your
to
trans
puberty,
child? And you corrected me. I was correct that you told the screener you have a trans
my
child.
child is not trans.
Why'd you tell it? You
No,
told the screener you did. They
Does your
were.
child
She
say
is
they're
now
trans?
a girly girl.
I am very concerned
My
for your
daughter
child and
told me-
whether or not they are actually trans
Oh my
being the
God.
daughter of you.
Oh my God. You don't let people finish. That's why.
I don't let
My
bigots
daughter,
just sit
up
there
until
and
she was
whine about what
13,
bigots they are.
Almost
So
14,
no,
I'm
Rachel,
not
we actually
lying.
let
She was
people engage
13,
in
almost
discussion when they're
14.
not spreading misinformation. But the thing we don't do on this platform that does happen on
But the
TikTok is
thing
we don't just
is-
let people bowl us over to spread
I don't
misinformation.
go
We
on
actually butt
TikTok.
in
I've
to
never
correct
been on
people.
TikTok.
I love the
That's
way
fine.
I love the way you just look for a key word that you can whine about. Earlier, I didn't call you a Nazi, but I used the metaphor of Nazis. Like, I'm not a Nazi, I'm a Jew. Like, listen to the actual words and understand when a metaphor is being used,
Well, you
and then
don't let
also
anybody
stop
finish.
lying
My
in response.
point is, you're
Rachel,
calling
you
me a
haven't let
liar,
me finish the
and
fucking
I'm
sentence, so
not.
why are you complaining? You've
You're
interrupted every
demonstrably a
fucking
liar,
thing
though.
I've said. You are a trans-hating,
daughter
lying asshole who
was
hates America, and you should leave
almost
it.
14.
You hate
and
America,
when
and you should leave it.
When she went through puberty, turned into a girly girl, but up until then, told me she was a boy.
Great. You should leave America. You
So
hate it.
I've seen it from both sides.
You should get out of the country because you hate it here so bad.
No, actually, I don't. I love the fact
No,
that
you hate
everybody
this
has
country.
the right,
You hate that the
including you, to say what
Constitution.
you want.
You hate the
You
Constitution.
voted for Donald Trump, though, right? So you actively don't like a lot of parts of the Constitution.
Right. Donald Trump has talked about defying the Constitution, not changing it, defying it. Changing it's fine. That's what it's built to change.
Where did he defy it?
Are you kidding? How about January 6th?
What? Oh, stop. No,
How about
I
fucking
can't.
January
I'm not going to deal
6th?
with somebody who's going to say,
How
like,
about the-
what?
Wait. Rachel,
So
what is
that's
the
insane.
emoluments clause?
You're going to
What-
bring up January 6th on a whole different thing.
You asked a
But
question
even
and I
close.
answered
He
it.
walked into
Rachel.
the Capitol.
Rachel, you asked a question and I answered it. Rachel, what's the emoluments clause?
What?
What is the emoluments clause? Are you Googling it to see if you can find it and not be shown to? Oh, you hung up because we decided to go and talk about things that you don't know and prove that you don't even know the Constitution, let alone whether or not Donald Trump has violated it. And Donald Trump is the most blatant violator of the emoluments clause there is. You hate America and you hate trans people. And fuck you in your fucking face.
What's also crazy is I think January
January
6th could be a great example of how Donald Trump and anyone who voted for him absolutely detests the Constitution.
Yeah,
But honestly, genuinely, that wasn't even in the top 10 list of things I was thinking about because so many things have happened in the last 6 months that are blatant violations of our Constitution that it didn't even break the top 10 list in my brain. I was actually caught off guard when she was like, oh, you're going to bring up January 6th, aren't you? Like, well, I should,
question.
and that would be valid, but actually no, because there's so many times where he's done this that that's not even on the list right now.
Go pack. I hope that's why you hung up, to pack your bag so you can leave the country you hate so much.
I can't believe she was going to say, if you don't like it here, then move. Bro, first of all, do you know how much paperwork you have to do to get a visa to get into another country? 2, then they have to accept your paperwork that you submitted. 3, you're going to need to have the money to do that, which is going to be massive. By the way, you're probably gonna have to sell all of your belongings, basically restart from scratch and buy all new things in this new country. You might have to learn a new language. Like the absurdity of being like, just move, like as if it's just picking up your bags and walking down the street. So fucking ridiculous. And I also guarantee she's in like the top 1%. Anyone who says just move to me, I'm like, oh, so you're loaded.
Oh, no,
if you think you can just move, you must be loaded.
I've grown up around just move people. It's white trash say it too. That one I'll disagree with you on. My brother says it. He's not even fucking close to top. It's more of a, you know what? It's honestly a MAGA military thing too. People who are MAGA in the military, I'm fighting for this country. If you don't like it, you can get out. You can just
it's not even easy for most people to move in their city.
Right. Most people don't have the resources to move at all. But Rachel, if you'll pay to move, we'll move the whole company if you'll pay for the whole thing. Do it.
Word. I would love to be in Spain. Spain's looking real great right about now. Good laws.
I don't know. That Vox party keeps getting a little bit, they got some fascist problems, Spain. I feel like Spain's just on a delay.
Well, I mean, that's true of every progressive country that's good on trans rights right now. So I'm just like, Spain has really good laws and their visa is like really accessible compared to a lot of countries. So
I'd probably stay continental because flying over the ocean still makes me want to throw up. But I'd probably go.
That's fair.
So I'd probably just go Canada. Otherwise, New Zealand, I'd like, if I could.
I was just going to say, actually, I would really love it if Promise and Yuka could adopt me and move me to Finland with them. That would be great. That.
Look, if you could call in and be honest, people, like, just be honest. That's the whole thing. We talked to people we disagreed with. It never got out of hand like that with T. It never got out of hand like that with, and they weren't even really honest. It didn't get out of hand. It got out of hand with the person who was trying to shout down and just lie and wouldn't let you actually finish a fucking thing and thinks that a point would be, I'm sorry, I hope it goes viral what I said about Stephen Miller. Because somebody's going to be like, look at this anti-Semitic thing. I can't be a Nazi, I'm a Jew. Tell Stephen Miller that. Fuck Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is worse. In his heart, I think is worse than Hitler. Like,
truly.
I think he is a truly, I think he would genocide many more people than Hitler would have. I think if all of the people he wished would leave the country left the country, he'd start trying to nuke those countries. I think he.
Did you see that clip of Stephen Miller
dying a lot?
Did you see that clip of Stephen Miller when he was like, he looked like a teenager. I don't actually know how old he was, but he was like he's like, oh, we give people the courtesy of torture because we value life so much that we'd rather cut off your fingers than
of life. Yeah.
Yeah, like genuinely an actual psychopath. I'm
running
like,
for president of the school, I think, with why should I pick up my trash when people are paid to do it for me? I feel like that actually does broadcast who he is. I'm just like, what a fucking garbage, people. And I'm sorry if you want to call in and say, I have nuanced takes. I am MAGA. I don't like the trans thing, but I had to hate vote for trans to get whatever. Sure, but if you're going to sit there and go, not all MAGA hate trans people, yeah, I disagree. If you voted for MAGA, you voted in hatred of trans people at the very least.
Yeah, at the very least, you are so apathetic towards the outcomes that trans people will face that it is, again, like what I was saying, indistinguishable to me from hate. Like somebody who hates me is going to do and what you have done by voting for Donald Trump are literally identical. Like the outcome is the exact same. So you're saying like, I don't feel it. Like, okay, cool, bro.
Yeah. If you knew the bad things,
I don't feel like pooping when it's coming out of my butt. Like, doesn't really matter how I feel about that.
If you knew the bad things that were happening to the Jews, but you voted for the Nazis because you saw it would give you a 20% increase in profits at your little shoe shop, you're still a hateful Nazi piece of shit. Anyway, she can't be a Nazi because I don't understand that a metaphor isn't a direct accusation at me, you fucking idiot.
Also, I'm just going to say it. If you're Jewish and you're voting for Donald Trump, I'm going to assume you're a Zionist, which already puts you not too far off from the Nazis.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're not literally the Hitler's Nazis, but you are a fascist sympathizing piece of shit. I mean, there's that. And Zionism is the height of forced nationalism on the backs of colonialism, apartheid, open air prisons. Yeah, I mean, we need a special word because the Nazis did murder your people, and that's the difference. I don't think you want to genocide the Jews. Anyway, nor do I think all Jews are Zionists. Nor do I even think all Zionists are hateful in their hearts. Some of them are just dumb. and don't know. I didn't know it was dumb to be a Zionist until I found out. The ones who, as soon as you explain it to them, immediately are like, wait, that's what we're doing? That's fucked up. I have a little more patience for. A little more. Because you don't know you're dumb.
I haven't met those ones,
anymore.
But
I've met a few.
I'll take your word for it.
Gracie in Illinois. Gracie, do you say Illinois or Illinois?
I say Illinois.
Hell yeah.
Which I live in southern Illinois, so it's far different than the great north here.
It's less Illinoisy. Let's move on.
It's more fucking Kentucky.
What's going on? What did you want to call about?
Honestly, I just wanted to talk to people who, one, know more than I, and everybody always talks about we need more sex ed, and it needs to be more safe for safe sex and for things like that. And while that is true, and that's something I didn't experience in my small town, there's also a lot of other things that I don't think people really are pushing for, like ways to identify domestic violence and abuse and grooming and all of these things that I think that there are plenty of statistics and plenty of ways to see like similarities in people who are predators and who are all of these things. And like my biggest question is, why do you guys think that this country in many ways keeps that information away from the youth, keeps that information
Patriarchy.
away from
Patriarchy.
I mean
it's pretty obvious. It's first of all, I will say the people who are advocating for what you were saying, more sex ed, are also advocating for what you're saying. Usually we use one umbrella term that we need to have comprehensive consent classes, which would cover all of those except maybe domestic violence wouldn't be as, I mean, certain types of it, but wouldn't be fully, there should be more coverage of understanding the breadth of domestic violence, but comprehensive consent education would cover most of those things. But the reason why it's not is because not giving those things benefits abusers. Abusers are disproportionately represented amongst men, and the patriarchy therefore benefits men. And so we live in a patriarchal society, and that it's against the benefits of the patriarchy. And so they're going to distract us with all of the other things. Oh my God, a swimmer was born with a penis. And we'll focus on that instead of making sure that a child doesn't understand when they're a masseuse at a Florida resort that those massages they're being requested to do are not nefarious, that it's a totally normal thing for you to be going between different old billionaire men. You know, no specific example.
I mean, and there's a lot of things that are normalized these days, and like obviously when you are in groups and you pay attention to those things, like I was raised by a mom who listened to murder podcasts and listened to things that talked about the more horrible things, but in the real world and
then she became a murderer.
I live in.
Just kidding. Sorry. No.
I was murder podcast. Look, I mean,
I was like, wait, where are we going with this?
But like, it also stems from sexual assault and things that are talked about in those podcasts, and they're not really talked about as openly, other than in those small snippets of the world, those small groups. And obviously they're more well known now, but like, it's just very concerning to me that still in more rural areas like this, there is no advocacy for that. Like, there's nobody talking to the schools and telling them they're doing wrong. I mean, I know teachers who are afraid to tell their views and to push for things like that at the board.
Gracie,
it feels very much that way.
It is that way. And unfortunately, the answer is one that's going to suck for a lot of people because it's hard. And you may not have the ability to do this and the other stuff, but if you have the resources, Gracie, you have to do something. On a local level, run for a local office. It's actually way easier than a lot of people, and there are a lot of unchallenged offices. run for a school board, attend school board meetings, give the lectures, whatever else. I think that you just gotta, unfortunately, you're right. And you can also try things like we're doing. You can try and create the resources, or you can try and support resource creators that you like at patreon.com/calltheline. These are the types of things one could do to try and to spread that. But I don't have a better answer than obviously vote. Voting feels like it's doing
I've
less
been
than
thinking
ever, but
Yes.
a lot about this topic and how, like, you know, I think a lot of before the social media, a lot of activist groups kind of had some sort of cultural hub that they could sort of hone around, and often it was like a church or some sort of religious organization. And with how secularized I think a lot of young people have become, even though they might still believe in something, like, I do think we're at a massive disadvantage on the left because we don't have that sort of hub to float around. Like, despite being such a small part of the population, you know, like the very like dominionist Christian nationalist wing of patriarchy is like having a huge influence on culture. And I always think, like, man, I just wish we had some sort of competing structure in like the left and in like secular spaces. But like a big part of that is, you know, a lot of these religious groups and organizations have had generations upon generations of wealth from which to build their communities around. And we don't have anything like that in the secular community. You know, like, even if there are some humanist centers, community centers, they're usually super underfunded. Like, most of their participants are like older or like wealthier sort of people who have the time and energy to be that politically active. And yeah, it is, it's really frustrating. We're at a massive disadvantage in so many ways, except for we do seem to, you know, we're still at a disadvantage online and in social media in a lot of ways, but I think this is the arena in which we have the biggest fighting chance. So, you know, that's why I think you see a lot of people. I'm always like careful to advise people before making, you know, becoming a person who does this, because there are a lot of negatives that people don't consider, but we definitely need more people doing more stuff louder than ever. So, like, you know, feel like you can deal with people calling you slurs all the time and sending you death threats to your inbox regularly, then like consider it.
I mean, I am queer and very used to it in real life. So at this point, I think I can handle it. And that's the thing, like, I'm 19, and it wasn't until I was maybe about 14, and I started watching Jimmy's videos. I started watching
Condolences.
The Line, and I started understanding all of these things that I was never even shown in the real world. My mom was someone who wasn't as open-minded before, and has she's always been open-minded, but kind of afraid to speak sometimes. And that's something that I was not, because it was all around me and I couldn't see how other people could see it.
You can also encourage the people to call us. Just saying. When you run into them.
See, that would have been a good idea.
Everybody, like, for real, people.
Funny.
All right, we'll get on it. We got to start publishing like print files people can take to print their own cards. Like, call these people. Call these people.
I actually, at Secular Student Alliance National Convention this year, I had multiple people come up to me and tell me that they had like a family member who's giving them a hard time and they were asking for advice. And I was like, honestly, just tell them to call in. Like, rather than have me have this proxy debate through you to them, like, just have them call me and let me do my job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody wins.
And
for no other reason than catharsis.
I definitely appreciate everything that you guys do. The last call gave me a headache.
Yeah.
Also, fuck
me too.
Christian.
Yeah, fuck Christian, by the way. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Calling and fucking fuck with my people. I'll fucking
and you popped off as you should.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you say poop in your pants?
I appreciate you guys.
Christian's pants. That's right. Thank you, Gracie.
Okay,
thanks,
thanks,
for
Gracie.
A reasonable conversation.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Gracie.
I mean, like, it's interesting because even with the first caller, was it T? Like, it was a little high energy, a little combative, but it was a good back and forth. I mean, like, he got his thoughts in, and there was some good discussion. I'm sure he feels like we steamrolled him a little bit, but you know, he said a lot of shit that didn't make sense.
If he waited around to see how things went with Christian, I think he'll redefine what steamrolling is.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
I think I
true.
steamrolled Christian. Hey, people, the LineCon presents. Wait, the Line presents LineCon Online. A Line production is this Saturday at 3 p.m. at patreon.com/calltheline. For anybody at the $15 and above tier, you will be able to attend and watch Aaron, Owen, and Matt do their lectures, as well as a Q&A that will be an hour long after their lectures with all three of them. Also, if you would like to be considered to be hired to make an intro for this show called Calling It Now, which I call CIN for short, CIN. If you want to make the CIN intro, go to go to QAnaline.com/CIN intro, CININTRO, and that will give you guidelines for how to do a proposal. Our next episode of Calling It Now, that is currently scheduled anyway, will be on Sunday. It'll be myself with Javon Bradley again. And that'll be at 5 o'clock right after the Sunday show. Other than that, I don't think I have any other announcements for you. We might do more impromptu episodes because this show rocks. I'm having a good time.
I enjoyed it. Did we promote the tomorrow there is a Cause I Wanna? Did you say that? Did I black out and miss you?
Yeah, Cause I Wanna tomorrow with Owen Morgan and Aaron Adair. We'll do a regular Cause I Wanna over on the line, kind of also to help encourage people to come to the event. But that will be tomorrow at 6 o'clock. So that's also going down. It's going down. Might have to do like a stream on here leading into it and transfer them the audience. That might work. That might be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Might be nice.
See that?
All right, people. Well, 6 o'clock Central, in case people are wondering, for tomorrow's show. And then Saturday is the LineCon thing. You want to be there. You want to be at the first one. Only people at the first one will be able to buy that shirt.
Get that sick first edition golden Zerba shirt.
That's the only reason I'm attending. You know, the lectures will be good, but what I want is the shirt. As a collectible, as a person who collects certain collectibles, I need it in my collection. All right, cool. Thanks for hanging out, people. And there's still not really even an outro either, because we'll probably base whatever the outro is on whatever the intro is, with at least the music. So pretty much that's it. The show basically goes until it just kind of ends, to quote